Welcome to the ASN Kidney Week podcast, exploring the latest advancements, research, and innovations shaping the future of kidney care. Tune in for expert conversations, clinical insights, and highlights from ASN Kidney Week 2024, a go-to source for staying informed and inspired.
Hello everybody, Matthias Kretzler here, University of Michigan, nephrology and computational biology. Very excited to be back in San Diego for ASN 2024. So great to see all the energy in the room.
It's great, good to be here for Kidney Week 2024. My name is Gentzon Hall. I'm the Assistant Professor of Medicine and Nephrology at Duke University and Vice Chief of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the division. It's great to be here in San Diego. Looking forward to an awesome conference and a chance to get to see everyone new and again.
Thanks for inviting me. It's Heather Reich, and I'm a professor at University of Toronto, where I'm also the Division Director of Nephrology, clinician scientist, GN aficionado, and it's great to see everyone back in person and the science and excitement and energy at this year's meeting in San Diego.
And it's particularly fun to see glomerular disease center stage. My first meeting at ASN in San Diego quite a while ago, we were looking at the latest advances in dialysis membrane filters. And now we are seeing that glomerular disease at basic science, at translational and clinical sciences is center stage, and even the industry exhibition shows frequently podocytes being successfully targeted by the latest newest therapy. Very exciting to see that progress.
Yeah, I think this is clearly a renaissance that we are positioned in, and it's really awesome to see just in the lifetime of one's training experience having very little to offer patients and maybe not as much clarity on disease mechanisms. Now that's evolved to include more that you can offer patients, both in terms of the description of the disease process, but even in therapeutic options. So it's a great time to be practicing, and definitely a great time to be involved in research. I would imagine it's especially exciting even to be a trainee, so that now you can not only be mentored in these exciting environments, but there's so much that you can learn, and you can actually see a path you can carve going forward to make patients' lives better. So it's just a really great time in nephrology.
Yeah, I think I was very pleasantly surprised when I got out of my taxi when I landed here and walked into the conference hotel, and the banner across the front was IgA nephropathy. Yeah. And so that's just really really phenomenal to see. And after really trying to push to look for new treatments for glomerular disease, it's finally just exploding. And IgA, of course, has maybe a bit more prevalent disease, so there's accounts for part of the interest, but also that we understand now so much more of the biology that opened the door for these treatments. And then it seems to kind of have a cascade effect. You know, once, IgA, well, what could you tell us about membranous nephropathy? And so to see the interest seems to be spreading across all the glomerular diseases. And it is really impressive and very exciting.
And even, for diseases which we considered untreatable, like Alport at the pre-symposium on basic science advantage on, emerging gene therapies, there were studies showing true impact of Alports with these approaches, not only from academic scientists, but half of the speakers were from industry, biotech, and large pharma. So again, attesting to the opportunities we have in front of us to reach cells in a damage stage, which we considered up to now not even remotely feasible.
Yeah, I definitely am blown away by just the explosion of information developing in all quarters. But I'm also encouraged quite substantially by the emerging leaders in all of this discovery. I think one of my most important mentors, Michelle Nguyen, was my first example of a nephrologist in practice and also in research. And just over the course of my training experience and early career, I've really had an opportunity and a pleasure to see so many women emerging in this field. I don't know that it's like that in every other. This stands out to me, at least, as being somewhat unique, and it's just sort of an amazing renaissance in so many different ways. They're just all the contributions, the energy, just the brilliance being brought to bear to solve these really complicated, long-standing problems. It's just fun.
Yeah, I think Michelle was an inspiration to many of us, probably more than she realized. So yeah, it's really gratifying to see even that work just come to fruition and keep growing. One thing I've also been impressed by is the industry work isn't just focused on the trial outcomes, but I find there seems to be quite an investment in science and biomarker work coming out of clinical trials, opportunities for industry and academic collaboration through their clinical trial programs to answer scientific questions and understand a bit more about mechanism. So I've found that interaction refreshing and new, and I think there are opportunities for researchers maybe to realize to actually approach some of the investigators in industry to see if there are opportunities that they can collaborate and work together for, to help advance each other's
And that's
programs.
where you can see that now learning from every trial, if it succeeds certainly, but also if it doesn't, and having that knowledge base available, but also learning critical aspects, how we want to treat our diseases and what are relevant outcomes. Last year there was a significant challenge put in front of glomerular diseases that one of the main trials in FSGS did not reach the endpoint of GFR decline, despite the fact that proteinuria was significantly reduced. And that really was an alarming sign. And the glomerular disease community around the world got together, shared data in a matter of months, and we will report out tomorrow afternoon a new outcome strategy for FSGS with proteinuria as, an endpoint for full approval, which really only worked because this community is live, energetic, and willing to share across national boundaries between academia and industry, and with patient stakeholders and regulators all working together when we see that this is a chance we just cannot follow up and succeed.
Yeah, I think that collaborative nature of research, I think the demand is coming from funders, but also because we see so much great potential in bringing efforts together. So one thing that I like about sort of where we are positioned is that there are so many new people interested in nephrology. So you have bioengineers and physicists all kind of bringing their expertise to these really critical problems. For instance, there'll be a session on mechanotransduction, which has a lot to do with sort of understanding the biomechanics of how podocytes attach to cell surfaces. That's, those are physical properties, and the people, at least some of them who are presenting, are not nephrologists, and so yet they still find their home here. They can contribute and to provide new perspective. So in multiple ways, we're just seeing all sorts of opportunities to go at these problems in ways that bring communities together, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely, there are definitely great opportunities, and I think advocating also, so interacting, they used to be very closed in terms of trials and what was going on, and I think there are opportunities at meetings like this for us to continue to advocate for patients where there are still unmet needs. So the GN trials are really exciting. They still focus on patients with pretty good kidney function, but of course we're still have large unmet needs in patients who have already more advanced CKD, where some of the, we don't know whether some of the medications will work. Is it too late? And there's a natural reluctance for development in this area because the chance of success may be less. But I think now with the momentum and the advocacy and having our community show so much interest in their products, hopefully we'll continue to expand the access to different patient populations that still will stand to benefit from all this development.
And one aspect which I think is particularly compelling in the glomerular disease space is the opportunity to really provide continuity of care. Obviously, a lot of our trials initially are in adult patients, but consistently pushing that these trials are extended and potentially, if safety data is available, by as a get-go already designed to cover also pediatric and adolescent patient populations is exciting, and also great to see that there are efforts led by groups like NEFCure to systematically bring, again, academia, regulator, and industry together to map out what and how continuity of trial design and subsequently care can be developed.
I think we were sort of pondering the question of what we're most excited to see. I have to say that the When in Doubt lecture, I'm really looking forward to the update on APOL1 mediated kidney disease, and just as an example of what we've accomplished as a community in such a short time, within a decade, just a little bit more. We've not only identified the risk variants in APOL1, but are now developing therapies just amazing in such a short period of time, and it's rational, it makes sense. We're finding out more not only about the biology of the protein, about sort of the history of the protein and sort of how it came to be, these variants, and gives hope for other studies of genetic disease within the spectrum of kidney disease. And so I'm just fully engaged in the work of the podocyte community, but I'm also very much interested in how this model can impact the way that kidney disease research is done.
Yeah, I think when you're through my career, there are a couple of moments that stood out for me where you saw trials that you just knew were going to be really transformative. I remember, the first was hepatitis C treatment for me, seeing when you saw those publications, you just knew it would have massive impact. And I think that moment with the APOL1 targeted therapy was another one of those moments of gene to therapy with, good mechanistic work and really exciting and fast clinical development. Even the speed of development is pretty spectacular. I mean, even, for example, some of the complement drugs may have only published, the development of the compound 5 years ago, and already in phase 2-3 studies, which is really remarkable. So yeah, it's definitely one of those stages of career where you really stands out for the sudden burst of progress.
Yeah, but we also have to be honest to say, and the FLOW trial showed that sadly very, very prominently, that for 20% of the patients in that study, we fell short. They reached the mortality endpoint.
Yeah.
And obviously President data this morning showed us where we are in failing so many of our patients, and identifying needs and opportunities to develop a comprehensive approach where, yes, we have drugs available who can significantly impact those diseases, but those drugs are not reaching the patients in need. They are not reaching them because many of them are not approved in the societies where they are needed. They are not supported by payers, or patients cannot gain access to care. So that piece of the need and opportunity is now more urgent than ever, because we are starting to offer solutions to patients. And that's relevant for us here in the US, but obviously equally relevant for people outside of the US. If we do global trials and patients around the world contribute to establish efficacy of these drugs, we have to make sure that in these societies these drugs are available, and we can learn and implement solutions effectively in different frameworks of patients' exposures and disease trajectories.
Yeah. I think this might actually signal a new area of innovation that we could take advantage of, and that is how we train and how we bring people to a knowledge of what the potential for discovery and translation really is. I know in my experience that I was extremely excited to be a nephrology fellow in the WIN lab, and I'm hoping, wishing for every trainee that they have the potential to have an experience in mentoring, getting to know nephrology in the way that I did. It really is a transformative discipline, and I think in a lot of ways it is unique in its ability to kind of bring patients and providers together in partnership for the improvement of healthcare. There's something unique about it, and I just really am excited about the possibilities for showing its true face over time and encouraging a new sort of wave of leadership and participation.
Yeah, and I think, just to highlight something that Matthias said as well, the flip side of innovation is a gap between in accessibility, and you don't have to go too far. Even on my side of the border, I don't have access to any of the new licensed IgA nephropathy drugs, so it's on forefront on the mind of people who are walking through these exhibits, and having a great international audience, I think, helps advocate. And like Matthias said, if you're participating and running trials in countries or areas of the world, there has to be some mechanism of access. There was a very nice story with that, actually, with the hepatitis C drugs. That was a beautiful model for how to handle it. Not perfect, but a good template to start. And hopefully bringing together international clinicians helps to foster that spirit of making all of these discoveries accessible.
Particularly because research nowadays can be more global than ever. It's fascinating that, if you train visiting scientists in your research environment, they return back into their home countries. In the past, they had to build everything from scratch. Now, they retain their VPN access, and you can seamlessly continue your collaborations, and we can compare and contrast how diseases manifest in different environments around the world, and see how gene-environment interaction manifests very differently across the world. IgA is a beautiful example. FSGS is another one, and we will hear over the weekend very exciting news how APOL1 mediated disease is manifesting in one geographical context versus another. And those are fantastic lessons to learn, and they teach us where environmental factors, which are eminently modifiable, might be one additional angle for us to add to our armamentarium, how to impact those diseases.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a nephrologist.
And the exciting piece now, I will go to a lecture from our incoming president, Crystal Gade-Beku, on how to match patients with glomerular diseases to trials according to their individual molecular programs. Nephrology is happening.
Thanks for tuning in to the ASN Kidney Week podcast. Stay connected for more updates, insights, and expert discussions on the future of kidney care. Be sure to follow us on social media to help create a world without kidney diseases.